Morning guys. So what I'm going to do today quickly is to give you an idea through your notes of what the content of your exam will look like. So what you need to do is you need to go through all of your presentations, go and listen to the recordings and make sure you understand what it is that we're talking about, and make sure that you understand the different phyla, the subphyla, the nomenclature. You need to know how all of these animals fit together under the chordates, for example. And you need to know, for example, when we're referring to fish, we're referring to vertebrata and etc. So please go through that. Go through each of the different groups. Make sure that you know the structures of the clearly presented animals. So in this case, for example, with this chordate ancestor, this chordate characteristic, I want to make sure that you can draw and or identify the different features of this animal. You need to know what the different features are and what were they used for. And importantly, this may be part of the multiple choice questions, this may be part of the definition questions, this may be part of the long questions as well. Okay, so you need to go through all of this and understand exactly what all of the different features of the chordates are. That's the first presentation. I'm just going to go through them very quickly to give you some ideas of what you would need to focus on. Okay, let me just see. Please go through all of the information. You need to be able to understand and identify the differences between the protochordates, the agnathans, the ochteces or the bony fishes, and then in terms of our amphibians in relation to the rest of the tetrapods, the four-limbed vertebrates. How does it fit together? And if you unpack each of them, if you unpack the agnathans or the prochordates, what are the different names of the different animals we're in? We don't spend a lot of time on the names and the history or the where this originated from, but you need to understand this so that we can understand how the different animals relate to one another and how we at least have some order. So we started with the prochordates, and again, you need to be able to identify the different characteristics or features of the animals. You need to be able to answer some of the longer questions and or the some multiple choice questions based on these lectures. Cephalochordates, cephalo meaning head. Okay, you need to be able to go through that again, see where we are, and each time I've tried to make sure that we know where we are with the different lectures, so that you can always relate this back to your previous lectures and your nomenclature. That's just how we order all the animals. Then we move on to the vertebrates, and then the early vertebrates, some of the adaptations, very important adaptations of the vertebrates. We do, on occasion, will ask you for some examples of these early vertebrates, but it's going to be very simple questions. Okay, so that's that you would need to just go through. Adaptations, digestive, respiration. You need to understand what all of these are, and you would need to be able to, for example, number or list some of the adaptations and explain some of them. Okay. Number 8. Osteichthyes. Then we move on to the bony fishes. Okay, and it's important to understand what are the difference between the jawless and the jawed fishes, the cyclostomata, the lampreys, and the hagfishes. Some of these prehistoric species that are considered to be intermediary between the chondrichthyes or the boneless fishes or the cartilaginous fishes, and then the bony fishes, and the two groups, the actinopterygii and the sarconopterygii. Okay, where the tetrapods, all of these amphibians, and that we looked at in our sections, where they fit. So you need to be able to look at a picture like this and know what's going on in this picture and understand these three different major categories or these organisms. Okay, please remember, in terms of 2008, the textbook that you have, and some of the difference between 2008 and 2018. And very importantly here, you can see the early tetrapods were considered to have be separate from these coelacanths, these agnathans, not the agnathans, these sarcopterygii, but you see now they've been grouped within the sarcopterygii. So you can see the coelacanths, the lungfishes, and then all of our tetrapods. Okay, you need to go through all the information. You need to know what this is. You may be asked to define and or explain some of them. You need to understand some of the characteristics that separate some of these animals from each other. You also would need to, for example, use some of these characteristics to compare between different organisms. So, okay, and back to locomotion, some of the activities and the adaptations of fish. That's quite important, please. You also need to know some of the life histories. You need to be able to explain some of the life histories. That's very important that you are able to explain or at least know and describe those life histories. That would be in your exam as well. Yeah. More structure and function, myomer muscles, and the importance of the way that fish swim and use locomotion in water. That's very important. And you can imagine that I spend a lot of time on this. The different types of tails and how you the different tails with the different groups of fishes, for example. You need to understand what that is. Yeah, swim bladders and contributing to gas exchange, gills and gill functioning, how the gills take air out of water, kidneys. You need to know osmoregulation, for example. You need to know the principles behind these different organ systems, these systems that these animals have. Life cycle histories again, and some of the important information about eels, and that would be important for us. Right? This is the presentation on migrations, and it's important that you can see I've spent quite a bit of time trying to explain the differences between the migrations, and importantly then we speak about our anadromic fishes like salmonids that you find in the northern hemisphere, but our catadromous fishes that you find here, which is very important for us. You can see this is some of the pictures of some of the eels that we have. Okay, then I gave you some information about historical linkages between species and how species have moved around the southern African area. I'm not too interested in that particularly, but what I do need you to understand, for example, is how the eels very importantly move around these catchments and how we are changing the environment that's affecting the ability of these species to migrate, especially in our local area. So you may get some questions on that. And then onto the amphibians. Again, very important to understand the structure of amphibians, the different groups of amphibians, what are the characteristics of amphibians, how would you compare amphibians to fishes, for example. There may be answers about amphibians and other tetrapods, and then the three different categories of amphibians, and some aspects of their life cycle ecology, their adaptations, their biology, and their ecology and conservation as well. So you actually need to go through all of the material. That's what I'm trying to argue to you. Good luck, guys, and yeah, I think if you've gone through the work and you've paid attention to the lectures, you guys will be fine. So good luck to all of you. Bye.